Hi, I'm Maya. I spent my savings on a $900 junk house, and for that, my family kicked me out like I was nothing. But the real heartbreak wasn't losing them. It was realizing they were never really mine to lose. The lies, the silence, the quiet erasure. It all brought me here. And now they're the ones knocking, asking for a key to the home they once laughed at. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you listening from right now? Morning rush, late night drive. Drop a comment below. You're about to hear everything they hoped would stay buried. The tires crunched against the wet gravel as I turned into the long, sloped driveway. The house at the end looked exactly like it had in the photos. Worse, maybe. Peeling siding, boarded up windows, and a roof that sagged like it had given up years ago. But it was mine. All $900 of it. I shifted into park and sat there a moment watching the rain streak down my windshield. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt exiled. Still, I got out, yanked open the trunk, and pulled out the fold-up chair I kept back there for writing breaks and impromptu thinking sessions. Today, it felt heavier than usual. I placed it carefully in the gravel, unfolded it, and sat down. The mud tried to tug at my boots like the earth itself was telling me to turn back. But I wasn't going anywhere. Not this time. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. A week ago, I was sitting at my parents' dinner table, still naive enough to believe we could be a family when I played by their rules. The roast had been dry, the wine too sweet, and the expectations suffocating. Mom had gone on about Sophia's upcoming college semester like it was some kind of sacred mission. 25,000, she said like it was pocket change. For the pre-med program. She needs this after everything she's done for this family. Sophia, who always had a way of pretending her struggles were somehow more noble than mine, smiled graciously and sipped her Pinot like a saint. Then Dad turned to me. Maya, you said you were transferring the funds last week. What's the delay? I looked up from my plate and said it calm and simple. I didn't transfer the money, I bought something. The clink of cutlery stopped. Sophia froze mid-sip. Mom blinked once, slow, calculating. What do you mean you bought something? I bought a house, I said. It's a fixer-upper, but it's mine. Silence then, Dad's voice cool with just a trace of thunder underneath. You spent your savings on yourself. Sophia let out a little laugh. You bought a dump instead of helping me get through college. That's actually so on brand for you. I never agreed to fund your education, I said, trying to stay composed. I just didn't say no out loud. Mom set her wine glass down with a click. You've clearly chosen poverty. Don't expect us to support your delusions. I tried to speak, but Dad raised his hand. You want to be on your own? Then be completely on your own. The next morning, my name was gone from the family group chat. Easter plans canceled for me. Just like that, back in the present, I shifted in my seat. The sky above was a uniform gray, but there was no storm. Just that low, heavy pressure that made your chest feel too small. The kind of weather that made everything feel like it was ending. My phone buzzed. One new message from Mom. Do not come to Easter. No love, Mom. No explanation. Just erasure. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the delete button, then thought better of it. I folded the phone back into my coat pocket like folding away a piece of myself I wouldn't need anymore. I sat back, letting the cold bite through the thin jacket I hadn't replaced in years. The house loomed ahead, ugly, empty, and mine. A symbol of everything I wasn't supposed to want. Freedom, control, a future that wasn't built on someone else's back. Funny thing about families like mine, if you stop serving a purpose, they stop pretending to love you. But I wasn't broken. Not yet. And I hadn't come this far to crawl back. The wind kept picking up, tugging at the corners of my coat as if trying to rip away whatever dignity I had left. I stayed seated for a while longer, trying not to let my body sink into the weight of it all. Eventually, I stood and made my way inside, stepping over a broken screen door and onto creaky floorboards that groaned under my feet. Inside, it smelled of mildew and wet wood. Cold air slipped in through gaps I hadn't noticed in the photos. I grabbed the single curtain I'd brought with me, a faded blue floral print I'd kept from my college apartment, and climbed up on a rusted step stool to hang it. I tried to wedge the rod into the frame. It slid sideways, then popped out completely and crashed to the floor with a loud clang. Typical. I muttered, rubbing my elbow where it had smacked the wall. I sank down onto the cracked linoleum floor and leaned my head back against the peeling paint blinking up at the bare window. Then, without warning, it hit me. 16 years old, my birthday. Mom had called everyone into the living room holding a cake with bright pink frosting and mismatched candles. Sophia had helped decorate. It was sweet, really, except they'd spelled my name wrong. Happy birthday, Maya. No second A. I was Maya. Always had been. Always corrected teachers, but they'd forgotten. Or maybe they never cared enough to ask. Sophia had gotten a used Honda for her 16th. Dad had stood in the driveway beaming like she just graduated medical school. "You deserve this, honey," he said. "All your hard work." She had a C average. I got a lopsided cake and a maybe next year when I asked about driving school. That had been the start of it. Though maybe it started even earlier and I'd just been too young to name it. I remembered Christmas photos where I was always off to the side, birthday cards signed, "Love you girls," with only Sophia's name underlined. I remembered getting left behind on the Florida trip because there wasn't room in the car. I was 28. At some point, you stop thinking it's forgetfulness. You realize it's a choice. I stood up and dusted my jeans off, but my hands were shaking a little. Not from cold, from memory. They never screamed at me. Not once. But they erased me slowly, softly, as if they were gently deleting a file no one really used anymore. "You're too intense," Mom used to say when I asked why no one clapped at my award ceremonies. "Let things go." But when Sophia got voted best smile in high school, they framed the certificate and hung it next to the front door. I had won a statewide essay competition that same year. Dad told me not to gloat. I thought if I worked harder, they'd see me, so I kept trying, bringing home straight A's, getting scholarships, even helping Mom redesign her nonprofit's website when I was in college. They never looked. The radiator in the living room hissed to life unexpectedly, and I jumped. My body was wound so tight I could barely breathe. I moved into the kitchen and sat on the floor back against the fridge. There were no appliances yet. No cabinets. Just a box of donated tools and an unopened can of paint. I whispered, "Maybe they didn't forget me. Maybe they chose not to see me." My phone vibrated. For a second I thought it was another text from Mom. Another deletion. But it was Aunt Rosa. "Hey, baby." Her voice crackled through the speaker. "I just wanted to check in. I heard, well, I saw you weren't in the family group chat anymore." I laughed softly. "Isn't that something digitally exiled?" She hesitated. "I want to tell you something, and I hope you listen. You were never the problem. You just weren't Sophia. That was your only crime." I swallowed, leaning my head against the cold fridge door. "It still hurts." "I know. I know it does," she said gently. "But here's the thing. When they need something, they'll come back around. They always do. Just don't forget what this felt like. Don't you dare forget." Her voice cracked a little on the last sentence. It wasn't anger. It was exhaustion. I didn't know it then, but Aunt Rosa was right. They would come back, and they'd need more than forgiveness. The wind had calmed and dusk was beginning to settle like dust on the broken glass of my kitchen window. I was crouched on a splintered stool trying to fix the latch that had long since rusted shut. My fingers were numb both from the cold and from a gnawing weariness I couldn't shake. That's when my phone buzzed in my pocket. One notification: voicemail. I didn't move at first. I just stared at the screen. Mom. No message preview, just the weight of her name. I set the screwdriver down on the sill, wiped my hands on my jeans, and stood still for a long moment. Should I listen? There was no part of me that believed it would be an apology, not a real one, but I tapped play anyway. Maya, sweetheart. Her voice was syrupy, like the kind she used at bake sales and PTA meetings. Soft, melodic, carefully measured to sound maternal. Never mind the venom she used when no one else was watching. I've been thinking about you a lot lately. Things got heated, sure, but you have to understand something. Sophia's been under so much stress. Getting into pre-med hasn't been easy. You know how sensitive she is. Sensitive, that word again, as if Sophia were made of spun glass while I was just drywall, meant to be punched, patched, painted over. I just wish you'd considered how hard this year's been on her. And I know you mean well, but sometimes your timing, well, it's just a little off. My jaw clenched. I could already feel the rest of it coming like a freight train. She really looked up to you, you know. I think that's why she reacted so strongly. And your father? He didn't mean what he said. He was hurt. You've always been the strong one, the bigger person. There it was. Can't you be the bigger person? They never asked Sophia to be the bigger person. She could scream, lie, disappear for weeks, and still come home to birthday cakes and open arms. Me, I was expected to swallow it all, smile through it, translate every wound into grace. The voicemail ended with, "We're all just trying our best, honey. Maybe it's time to let this go." Let this go. I closed my eyes and stood perfectly still, letting the silence ring louder than her voice ever had. Then I replayed one sentence over and over in my mind. You've always been the bigger person, as if that was supposed to be a compliment, a badge of honor. It was a muzzle, a tool they used to keep me in check. Be the bigger person. So they never had to be accountable. I walked over to the small plastic bin where I'd thrown a few things when I moved in. At the bottom was a faded photo frame. I hadn't looked at it since packing. It was from my college graduation. Everyone else was smiling. Sophia, dead center, was holding her camera in front of my face, blocking me almost entirely. I'd asked them to retake the picture. They didn't. "I'll edit you in," Sophia had said with a laugh. They framed that photo. I stared at it now, at the tiny sliver of my shoulder barely peeking out from the edge of the frame. Then I turned it face down on the counter. I didn't walk away from them to punish anyone. I didn't stop answering their calls out of spite. I left because the silence was killing me, the pretending the way I had to shapeshift just to stay included. I wanted peace, a place I didn't have to defend my right to exist. I wanted a home that didn't punish me for choosing it, even if it only cost $900 and had holes in the walls. It was mine. I grabbed a pen and scrawled one sentence on a sticky note, then slapped it onto the photo frame's back. "This is not who I am." The phone buzzed again. A second voicemail from Mom. I didn't listen this time. I knew the pattern. "Extend a sugar-coated branch, then twist it around your neck when you take it." Instead, I opened the window as far as the broken latch would allow and let the cool evening air cut through the room. Peace wasn't what they were after. A week later, they showed up at my door with tears and a pitch. The sun was barely warming the porch planks when the knocking started. At first, I thought it was the wind batting a loose shutter again, but then it came again. 3 sharp raps, deliberate. I glanced out through the tattered curtain. My heart didn't drop. It sank. There she was, Sophia. One stiletto heel tapped the concrete with performative irritation. Her coat was cream-colored cashmere belted at the waist, and her oversized sunglasses reflected the entire street, like a mirror daring anyone to look back. Even standing still, she looked like she was mid-photo. She didn't wait for me to open the door. Instead, she turned to the side, let her voice carry toward the neighbor walking her dog. "Mom says she's really let herself go, but you know some people just need their little rebellions." I stood frozen in the hallway. That coat alone cost more than my roof repairs. That was her entrance. Luxury against my peeling paint. Snide remarks where there used to be silence. Her favorite sport public performance under the guise of concern. I opened the door just as she turned back toward it. Well, there she is, the homeowner, she said, stretching out the word like it was some joke. Honestly, this neighborhood has really gone downhill. Do you get raccoons here? I leaned against the frame, arms crossed. Is that why you're here, to survey the wildlife? She smirked. No need to be defensive, May. I'm just trying to check in. You dropped off the grid. You mean after you told Mom I'd gone full swamp witch? I said. Yeah, I figured a little distance would do me good. Her eyes darted to the peeling shutters, the chipped railings. She clicked her tongue. This place, it has character, I'll give you that. And mold. And a smell. Behind her, another neighbor passed by. She waved sugar sweet. Don't mind us, just catching up. Family bonding. Then she leaned in slightly and lowered her voice. Listen, the HOA's been sniffing around. Someone mentioned this place might not be up to code. I raised an eyebrow. You reported me to the HOA. She didn't answer directly. I'm just saying this area has standards. People talk. I didn't flinch. I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. She switched gears fast, like she always did. One moment weaponized condescension, the next sugar-drenched desperation. I'm in a bit of a bind, she said, sighing dramatically. Financial aid fell through for next semester. Total mess. I had to drop 3 courses. I waited. Sophia touched the edge of the porch with one polished fingertip like it might bite her. So I thought maybe just for a few months while I sort things out. I can sleep anywhere. Even here. Even here. Like it was a campground. She was stalling. Probably couldn't explain to her sorority sisters why the pre-med princess was suddenly broke. Whatever had cracked in her picture-perfect world, she wasn't ready for anyone else to see it. Sophia, you told Mom I was unstable. I never said that. You said I was mentally spiraling in a hoarder shack. She had the decency to look away, but only for a second. I was just worried, she said. And look, you proved us wrong. You're surviving. I mean, you're still doing that blog thing, right? What do you call it? Grant writing. I didn't bother correcting her. I just stepped aside. One night, I said, don't touch anything. Her face lit up like she'd just been invited to a castle. You're the best. Seriously, you always were. It's why people walk all over you. She swept in past me like she owned the place. That was her way. Act like it was always hers to begin with. I stood by the door for a long time after she passed, staring at the path she'd taken, heels clicking on rotting floorboards. She needed help, but not the kind she thought. I woke up to the smell of instant coffee and something far worse. Laughter, not the warm kind, the kind that felt like a slap across the face. Still groggy, I pulled a sweater over my tank top and padded toward the kitchen. The floor creaked under my feet like it wanted to warn me, and maybe it should have. As I rounded the corner, I stopped cold. A ring light was set up by the window, its harsh white glow casting artificial glamour over a chipped counter. My stained kettle had been pushed aside, replaced by a neatly arranged setup of oat milk cartons, granola bars, and a candle that hadn't belonged to me. And in the middle of it all was Sophia, full face of makeup, smiling into her phone like she was hosting a morning show. My morning, my kitchen. Say hi to my angels, she cooed into the screen. We're here doing something really meaningful today. I wanted to show you guys where my sister, bless her heart, has been living. It's a bit of a fixer, but we love a transformation, don't we? She panned the camera toward the cracked tiles, the mismatched chairs, the yellowing linoleum. I stood frozen by the doorframe, watching her turn my lived-in survival into her pity parade. This fridge hasn't worked since like Y2K, she joked, giving it a kick. And don't get me started on the smell. Honestly, it's giving generational trauma. The comment section buzzed on her phone. I could hear the stream of chimes from my spot. Oh my God, Someone just asked if this was a shelter. Sophia laughed. No, sweetie. It's my sister's house. I know. It's tragic. I stepped further in saying nothing. She didn't notice me at first. Another comment popped up. Is that really your sister? She looks like a squatter. Sophia didn't even blink. She tilted the camera toward me. Yep, she said. That's her. Look at those slippers. It's giving Great Depression chic. Something inside me snapped. I walked over, calm as stone, and yanked the phone off the tripod. The suction sound of the pop socket detaching echoed louder than her gasp. Hey, what are you doing? She shrieked. I looked straight into her perfectly contoured face. You want content? Here it is. Get out before I give them the story they actually deserve. She fumbled to grab the phone back. I didn't let her. You don't get to weaponize my life for likes, Sophia. Not anymore. Her expression changed. The victim mask slid on effortlessly, eyes wide mouth, open breath, trembling. It was Oscar-worthy. I was just trying to help, she said, voice breaking. I thought people could donate or something. It was for you. You mocked me in my own home. You made me a joke. I handed her the phone like it was a dead thing. You can go now. Sophia sniffed theatrically, gathering her makeup bag and purse with a sweep. As she passed by, she made sure to say it loud enough for her unseen audience to hear. This is what I get for trying to be a good sister. The door slammed shut behind her. The ring light still hummed faintly in the silence. I leaned back against the wall, hands shaking, but not from fear, from fury, from freedom. Something had clicked. They didn't get to script my life anymore. By late evening, the chaos had settled into a strange humming silence. I sat curled on the second-hand couch, a chipped mug of black coffee warming my fingers. Outside, dusk had pulled a blanket over the neighborhood. Inside, my phone screen pulsed like a heartbeat. Notifications exploding, each one carrying my name like a grenade. I hadn't posted anything. I hadn't said a word, but they were talking about me, tagging me, commenting, sharing. I finally opened Instagram, expecting another clip from Sophia's endless pre-med journey montage. Instead, I found something worse. The first screenshot stopped me cold. It was a GoFundMe campaign titled, "Help My Sister While I'm in Med School." My face plastered across the banner. I was mid-step carrying a garbage bag, hair tied back, sweat on my brow. Another photo showed me curled up on the couch, wrapped in the same quilt Aunt Rosa had given me after the fallout. And next to it, a caption that read, like a eulogy, "My baby sis has been through so much while I pursue my dreams. Help me give her a life she deserves." Raised $22,450. Recipient Sophia Chen. Withdrawal account Sophia's personal PayPal. I didn't even finish scrolling before the blood rushed to my ears. She had turned me into a charity case and monetized it. I stood up, pacing the small room like a caged animal. My hand trembled around the phone. I clicked into the comments section. People were showering her with praise. You're such a good sister. The world needs more people like you. I sent $100. Education is so important. I slammed the mug down on the table. It cracked. Sophia hadn't mentioned it. Not once. Not when she left that morning, dramatically wiping a fake tear from her cheek. Not when she posted that story of herself driving away from toxicity while soft piano music played. I opened our last text exchange. Nothing. I tried to report the fundraiser, but the platform said, "This campaign does not violate our community guidelines." Of course it didn't. She knew how to play the system. Frame it just right. Say just enough. Always letting people assume the rest. A new story popped up on her feed. Some people just want to stay mad. I'm doing what I can. Haters gonna hate. I stared at those words until they blurred. Then I looked back at the photos. The one with me kneeling on the porch in those old slippers. Great Depression chic. She'd laughed. The door creaked slightly with the breeze. The room was quiet. Too quiet. I felt like a ghost haunting my own house. Then a notification slid across the top of the screen. Message request from Illegal Eye Aid Denver. Hey, I saw the GoFundMe. You didn't authorize that, did you? I blinked. I'm a paralegal Colorado bar certified. This looks like civil exploitation, possibly even wire fraud depending on how the funds were framed. Want to talk receipts? I sat down slowly staring at the message. My heart didn't race. It didn't skip. It just steadied. Someone out there saw it too. Not just the humiliation, the strategy behind it. I typed one word. Yes. She replied instantly. Cool. Start with screen recordings. Capture timestamps. Don't confront her publicly yet. Trust me. For the first time in weeks, I felt the tiniest flicker of power. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I took a breath, switched my phone to Do Not Disturb, and began to document. Clip by clip, screenshot by screenshot, not just to protect myself, but to dismantle the game she built using me as the bait. The day before Sophia's pre-med showcase event, the house was strangely still. I had the windows cracked open, letting the crisp autumn air sweep through as I sat at the small kitchen table laptop, open phone buzzing beside me. The nerves should have hit me already. 2 days ago, I would have been pacing holes in the floor. But now there was only a focused calm tightening in my chest. Elena's face popped up on Zoom, framed neatly by stacks of legal pads and a half-empty coffee cup. We both signed off on the final version of the cease and desist letter, her voice steady and professional, even when mine wavered slightly. Breathe, Maya. The paperwork does the talking now, she said, flashing a small, reassuring smile. I leaned back, watching the seconds tick down to Sophia's live promo event. Her first big public move since the GoFundMe explosion. She had teased it for days. A special Q&A about balancing family support and medical school dreams. A raw, unfiltered session to set the record straight. I almost laughed. Nothing about Sophia had ever been unfiltered. 10 minutes before her event went live, Elena's courier confirmed. The envelope was in position, ready to be delivered in the middle of her broadcast. Like a storm cloud that had been gathering too long, it was time to break open. The screen on my phone flickered to life. There she was, basking under soft golden lighting, dressed in a white coat she hadn't earned yet, like she was filming a medical documentary rather than trying to salvage a crumbling reputation. She smiled wide at her audience. Hi, beautiful souls. Thank you for showing up today. I know there's been noise, but we're about positivity here. My stomach twisted as I listened to her spin the story. How she was just helping a family member while pursuing her dreams. How sometimes negativity comes from pain we can't understand. I almost admired the audacity. Almost. Then it happened. Midway through a question about sacrificing for education, someone stepped onto the stage from the side. A nervous-looking assistant clutching a thick manila envelope. Sophia's practiced smile froze. She took the envelope, blinking rapidly. Live chat exploded. What's that? She looks panicked. OMG, why'd she stop talking? Her fingers trembled slightly as she skimmed the letter inside. Her eyes darted to the camera, then away. The cheerful background music looped awkwardly as she muttered something off mic to the assistant. Then abruptly the live stream cut out. No sign-off, no closing affirmations, just static. I sat back, letting the moment wash over me. It wasn't the loud, messy revenge part of me once craved. No screaming matches, no viral videos of door-slamming fights. It was sharper, cleaner, poetic. Within minutes, Reddit threads bloomed. Cease and desist. Someone got legally bodied live. Screenshots, or it didn't happen. People were posting clips of her frozen face, analyzing every twitch, every stammer. Others started digging deeper, linking the GoFundMe to the same PayPal account tied to her pre-med supplies fund, one she claimed was for textbooks. While the internet swirled, another notification slid across my screen. Message from HOA President, Riverside, Denver. I opened it, pulse quickening. Hi, Maya. We were unaware Sophia Chen was using the Riverside Estates community name to solicit funds. This misrepresentation violates our Code of Ethics and Emergency Aid policies. We're initiating a formal review and would like your cooperation. Attached are copies of her application citing you as a displaced homeowner needing crisis housing. Please confirm or dispute. Attached were PDFs forms where Sophia had fabricated half-truths about my living situation, using my address, my struggles to strengthen her funding pitches for scholarships and grants. I scrolled through them, slowly absorbing every line. It wasn't just family betrayal anymore. It was fraud. For the first time, my chest didn't tighten with helpless rage. Instead, a deep, anchoring calm settled in. They had painted me as the broken sister clinging to survival, a prop in their stage play. But they forgot. I'm not built for pity. I'm built for endurance. I closed the laptop carefully, savoring the quiet finality of it. I wasn't the one who had to explain herself now. She was, and she wouldn't be able to filter her way out of this one. The drive to Denver felt longer than it should have. I wasn't nervous. Not exactly. It was something colder, steadier, like the kind of quiet you feel right before a storm splits the sky. I pulled into the valet line outside the Marriott Grand Ballroom, stepping out in a simple navy dress and the old silver locket my mother once sneered at, calling it thrift store trash. Tonight it felt like armor. As I handed my keys over, I caught sight of the banners strung along the event entrance. Future Healers Gala, supporting tomorrow's medical leaders. The irony wasn't lost on me. I squared my shoulders and walked in. The ballroom buzzed with hundreds of attendees, professors, donors, medical students, all decked out and angling for the best networking opportunities. Sophia was already center stage, lit like a golden idol under the soft white spotlight, her laugh echoing through the space as she greeted sponsors and fellow students alike. I wasn't there to make a scene. I was there to watch. I found a seat near the back, unnoticed among the crowd. I blended in on purpose, watching as Sophia swept from group to group, dazzling everyone with her curated charm. She wore a gown that shimmered under the lights and a smile even shinier. If you didn't know better, you'd think she was untouchable. But masks crack under pressure. After the opening remarks, a slideshow was queued up, supposedly to showcase all the community work medical students had funded through various fundraising campaigns. The first few slides rolled by. Smiling children at health clinics, thank you letters from rural hospitals, stock images of medical supplies being distributed. The audience clapped politely. Then a flicker, a frozen frame. A screenshot popped up on the massive screen behind the podium. Plain as day, a text message. Let her rot in that dump. I gave them the GoFundMe link for sympathy. Med school apps love a sob story. Another one followed. She's good for donation points. Keep the photos pathetic. Show the mold. The room fell silent. Phones shot up in the air. A low murmur grew. 1,000 tiny gasps rolling through the crowd like a gathering tide. Hashtags popped up on screens almost instantly. Med school fraud, Xiao, Sophia exposed, Ha's fake charity. Sophia turned, saw the screen, and for the first time in my life, I saw her mask slip, not crack. Slip right off. She stuttered, trying to explain, trying to laugh it off. Tech glitch. Sorry, guys. But nobody was buying it. 1,000 judgmental eyes pinned her to the stage. I stayed seated, watching, calm as a winter lake. Then Aunt Rosa rose from her table. She had been scheduled to give a speech praising the next generation of medical professionals. Instead, she took the stage with slow, deliberate steps. She didn't even glance at Sophia. She looked straight into the crowd. I was asked to speak tonight about integrity. She began voice carrying across the hushed ballroom, about trust, about family values in medicine. She paused, the weight of her words pressing on every heart in the room. And for too long, Aunt Rosa continued, voice tightening, this family has worn a mask. smiled in public, shamed in private, propped up one golden child, while another was left to scrape by in silence. People shifted uncomfortably. Some put down their drinks. Some leaned in closer. "I won't pretend anymore," Aunt Rosa said. "Tonight I stand not with what looks good on an application, but with what is right." And with that, she stepped down from the stage, walked across the room, and without a second's hesitation wrapped me in a firm, proud embrace. Cameras clicked, flashes popped. The silence broke, and it wasn't for Sophia. I heard Sophia's heels click furiously across the marble floor as she fled the ballroom, the train of her gown snagging on a chair. I didn't chase her. I didn't even watch her leave. I just closed my eyes for a second, feeling Aunt Rosa's arms around me, the first real embrace I'd felt from any family member in longer than I cared to remember. The room rippled with shifting alliances. Some people clapped, some stood awkwardly, some simply stared. I didn't gloat. I didn't smirk. I breathed. The silence I had lived inside for so many years had finally spoken back for me, and it was louder than Sophia's curated world had ever been. Morning sunlight spilled through the patched windows of my little house, painting soft rectangles across the floor. The air smelled faintly of fresh paint and cut grass, a far cry from the mold and mildew that once clung to every corner. I pulled a sweater over my pajamas and wandered into the kitchen, the wood floors cool under my bare feet. Coffee brewed quietly on the counter. Outside, I could hear the gentle laughter of neighborhood kids chalking up the walkway, their tiny voices filling the air with a kind of hope I hadn't known I'd missed. I sipped from my mug and let the peaceful silence settle around me, heavier and warmer than any blanket. A month had passed since the gala, a month since Sophia's mask had crumbled in front of flashing cameras, and the internet's cold, merciless memory. Sponsors fled. Apologies never came, and somehow none of it touched me the way I once feared it would. Instead, I rebuilt board by board, moment by moment, not just this house, but the life I had convinced myself I didn't deserve. That Saturday, the neighborhood hosted a small community cleanup. I set out a folding table with lemonade and brownies and watched as people gathered, laughing, swapping gardening tips, helping each other haul branches and clear gutters. Kids scrawled bright chalk messages on the sidewalk outside my front steps. "You matter." "Stronger than you know." "Welcome home." I found myself smiling without hesitation, without looking over my shoulder. Around midday, as I wiped down the table, my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but something, a stubborn little nudge inside me, made me check. It was a text from Sophia. "Hey, things have been rough. Any chance we could crash with you for a while, just until we figure things out?" No apology, no acknowledgement, just a casual expectation that after everything, I would once again hand over what little I had built. I stared at the screen, letting the absurdity wash over me. The girl who once laughed about my junkyard shack now wanted a roof over her head. I placed the phone down carefully next to the lemonade pitcher. I didn't respond immediately. I didn't fume or pace or draft angry messages I'd never send. Instead, I walked back inside my steps light. In the entryway right above the coat rack hung a simple wooden frame. Inside it, a faded photo me at 8 years old, standing stiffly in a paper crown and glittery costume from a long-forgotten school play. And there, blurry but unmistakable in the background, was Aunt Rosa clapping like her life depended on it. Beneath the glass, in small, neat handwriting, were the words, "You always had the light." I touched the frame lightly, feeling the lump rise in my throat, and let it settle. No tears, just gratitude, just peace. Picking my phone back up, I typed the only response that felt right. "There's no space for lies here anymore. I wish you peace." And I sent it without another thought. Outside, the kids laughed and shouted as someone drew a crooked sun with a bright yellow chalk line. I watched them from the porch, breathing in the cool afternoon air. The junk house I bought for $900 wasn't my burden anymore. It was my foundation. I had spent so long trying to find a seat at a table that was never meant for me, trying to earn scraps of love that were weighed and measured and handed out like prizes to whoever bowed the lowest. Not anymore. They wanted a key, but I had already built a door, and behind it finally was a life that belonged to me. Sometimes the hardest walls we break through are the ones built by the people who were supposed to love us most. But when you stop knocking on closed doors and build your own, you don't just find freedom, you find yourself. What about you? Have you ever had to choose peace over family? Share your story below. I read every comment. If you love true family drama stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful journeys of survival and self-discovery.